Mr. Mayor, any positions open at Giuliani Partners? Richard Grasso asked when he picked up the phone. The chairman of the New York Stock Exchange had just received word from his secretary, Sue G. Lee, that Rudolph Giuliani, the former mayor of New York, a Grasso friend and sometime rival, was on the telephone. It was early in the morning on September 17, 2003. Dick Grasso arrived at work at around 7 a.m., early enough to read the morning newspapers and grab some breakfast. It should have been a day filled with celebrations. Exactly 2 years earlier, Grasso and Giuliani had stood on a podium as heroes. The two had reopened the stock exchange less than a week after the 9/11 terrorist attacks occurred. Fast forward 2 years to September 2003, and Grasso was a different man. He was still hard at work. Just a few days earlier, the exchange had celebrated the 100th anniversary of Harley-Davidson, which had its shares listed to trade on the big board. He had done it in true Grasso fashion, with a huge celebration on the floor of the exchange, company officials in leather Harley jackets ringing the opening bell, and one of Grasso's signature publicity stunts, featuring Grasso himself riding a chopper down Broad Street, in front of the exchange building, with the wife of Harley's CEO seated on the back. New York Stock Exchange chairmen come and go, he later told one of his aides with a smile on his face, but 100-year anniversaries come only once every 100 years. Grasso, however, wasn't smiling today. In fact, he remained stoic even as he glanced at the one photo in his office that captured the moment of his greatest triumph. In the picture, he and Giuliani smiled and clapped as they declared the markets open for business following the attacks. Giuliani was now a private security consultant, making a mint off his 9/11 stardom. Things were going so well for Giuliani, in fact, that he was considering a run for president. Giuliani had offered Grasso a chance to work at his firm, but the offer had been made before Grasso's career had imploded in scandal. He was still a friend, however, one of the few Grasso had these days, and Giuliani asked his friend how he was doing. Grasso said he was doing as well as could be expected under the circumstances. "I'm the only hero of 9/11 who isn't benefiting from being a hero," Grasso muttered to himself as he sat in his office studying the visible evidence of his success. The photos with celebrities, politicians, and world leaders, the shelves stacked with souvenirs from the various companies he had convinced to have their shares listed on the exchange. What perplexed Grasso the most was how swift his downfall had been. Grasso's office was filled with mementos of his unparalleled reign, the NYSC Corporate Museum, as he used to call it when he gave tours to everyone from politicians to CEOs of the world's largest companies. In reality, it was the Grasso Museum. Every square inch was packed with something intended to validate his position as king of the club. But a series of missteps over the months leading up to the September 17th anniversary had accomplished what no competitor or terrorist had been able to achieve: Dick Grasso's defeat. That his demise would come in part as the result of his own actions only made the event more tragic. In the summer of 2003, America was still reeling from corporate scandals involving executives run amok. Enron, WorldCom, and Tyco International, to name just a few. But the litany of stories detailing malfeasance, incompetence, and greed was capped by an extraordinary disclosure that Grasso wanted to cash in a retirement package worth close to $140 million, including something the press had identified as an unseemly bonus of $5 million for working overtime during 9/11. Grasso wasn't stealing the money, of course. In fact, he had been paid the same special bonus the previous year. But the revelations had turned him from hero to poster boy for the overpaid chief executive. The same board of directors that had approved his taking the money, 9/11 bonus and all, just a few weeks earlier, now wanted him out.